Well, Kenya's agricultural industry is a critical cog in the country's economic wheel. This sector generates about 40% of the country's wealth, while employing almost 75% of the country's total workforce. That means that it is such a critical industry. But for now, the industry is facing one of its worst crises. A raging drought caused by climate change and subdivision of land is rendering this industry almost impossible to run. What is the way forward? Experts are saying that agribusiness is the way to go. Others are saying agriculture mechanization is the answer or the solution to our challenges. But what is the way forward for the agriculture sector? That is a conversation that we are having here. And of course, I'll be joined by an expert in that field. What do we need to do to revive and of course accelerate the development of agriculture sector here in Kenya? My name is O'Brien Kimani. You know for sure that I mean business, and that's why this is BizCheck. We are live from Broadcasting House. At O'Brien Kimani is my Twitter handle. At KBC Channel 1. Those are our two social media platforms. You can reach and engage with us. And of course, later on, we shall be looking at Kenya's industrialization agenda. We've been talking about this, for many years. And the question is, how do we accelerate industrialization in this country? I was going through some statistics by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. They were absolutely jaw-dropping, because what were they talking about? I'll be telling you more details about that. I'll be joined by some interesting people from Kenya Association of Manufacturers, and we shall be looking at how we can upscale industrialization here in Kenya. This is absolutely beautiful stuff that you do not want to miss. We are here for the next 2 hours. But for now, we want to take you to an event that is happening at Sarova Pan-Afric, where stakeholders are looking at ways of deaccelerating fossil fuel in the country because of their impact on the environment. Let's take you there so that you can listen in, and then thereafter we shall be back with the conversation. Well, energy stakeholders there discussing the viability of Kenya's energy business, and of course calling for more green energy in the country. And of course, now we want to take you to Safaricom headquarters. Remember, it's a big day for the telco, because today they are launching their 5G services in the country. I mean, what does it mean for the country and of course for Safaricom? Let's now take you there, because we just want to listen in, and thereafter we shall be having a little bit of a chit chat there. Well, that is exactly what is happening at Safaricom headquarters, where the company is launching their 5G services in the country. And what exactly this means is that the browsing speed of your internet will be pretty fast. So just in case you're downloading a movie, then if you're on 5G network, then it's going to be faster. We all know and we understand the pain of trying to download something and then it takes ages, to render and of course to download. Well, they're promising that with the launch of 5G services, then this is likely to be a story of the past. But the most interesting part is that, well, we are very busy talking about the 5G network. Other countries like China, the conversation there is around the 7G network and the future of internet. That's a conversation that they are having there. So that tells you that we have a little bit of a catch-up to do here. But of course, we must appreciate one thing, that we are making steps, albeit slowly. I told you about we want to discuss the issues around agribusiness in the country. Well, just to give you some background, the country's economy, about 40% of it is supported by agriculture, is such a critical cog in Kenya's economic wheel, because we employ, or the industry employs, about close to 75% of the country's workforce. And in the rural areas, actually, the situation is absolutely different, because almost 85% of the rural folks, they rely on agriculture for their survival. But in the last 2 years or 3 years, this industry is facing one of its worst crises. A raging drought that is being touted as one of the worst in the last 40 years is ravaging this industry, rendering millions of Kenyans, unable to access food and threatening the country's malnutrition numbers. what do we need to do to, number one, mechanize agriculture in this country, and of course encourage more people to join agriculture, and of course do it in the modern way. That's a conversation that we just want to have here. Michael Kinyanjui is the head of youth and planning at Brighter Monday. He's joining us here. He will be giving us an idea of the project they launched targeting thousands of youths. And thank you very much indeed, Kinyanjui, for finding time to be with us here. First of all, describe to us the industry, the agriculture sector in Kenya as we stand.
Thank you so much for having me, O'Brien. First of all, I'm the head of youth and learning, not planning. So let me just correct you there.
Oh, learning, yeah.
Yeah. So, and as you said earlier, there are some jaw-dropping statistics that are facing the agricultural sector, and us being in the employment industry, we have noticed that 70% of the food that we consume is actually produced by the small businesses,
smallholder farmers.
Yes. So we have 1.3 million youth entering the workforce every year, and they're struggling to get employment. And of course, as you had mentioned earlier, agriculture contributes to about 50% or even more to the GDP of the country. So agricultural business is a big deal, and we have seen an uptick of the green collar jobs as we place them, and more companies are investing in the agricultural space. So we need to be prepared, first of all, by upskilling the youth, reskilling them. As you know, 75% of our population is below 35 years, and that provides the muscle of the workforce that we have in the country. So we, Brighter Monday, partnered with GIZ to just come up with ways and measures to upskill, to reskill, and to improve the livelihoods of the youth, especially in the Lake Region Economic Bloc, which constitutes to around 30% of the population live in those 14 counties. So I think what we're discussing right now is one of the biggest backbones of the economy, and if we don't have these kinds of discussions and stakeholder involvement and policy framework development around this, I think we will have a big problem.
When you look at the country's policies that have been employed by the government, and of course when you look at investment towards agriculture sector, are you convinced that we are putting our resources where our mouth is?
Well, I will say that there is still a gap. We conducted a skill gaps analysis, a baseline, just to understand the perception of the youth and the employers in this agricultural agri-food value chain. And to be honest with you, I feel like we still need to do a lot. We are happy that stakeholders are coming together now just to talk about what needs to be done. Okay, so from the survey, we realized that we wanted to establish the pain points of the target group that we was focusing on, that's 18 to 35 years, in terms of what challenges they get when they are trying to access employment opportunities. We also wanted to determine the skills priorities for both the employers and the job seekers, what really ticks for them. Also, we wanted to identify the gaps in the soft skills training and development area, where I think and we feel that this is where we need to put a lot of energy on, because at the end of the day, you will go for an interview, but what are you going to say? How is your communication skills? How well can you articulate issues? So I think we're receiving a lot of direct investments from outside, and directly going into agriculture and agri-food value chain. I mean, I can even now purchase an item while sitting at home, and it's delivered. Talk about vegetables or anything. So we're talking about the expansion of the agri-food value chain, and the question that we need to ask ourselves is the talent gap ready? Is the talent field ready? Do we have the right talent? How well are they skilled? I know we have perfect technical institutions who give the hard skills, but what about the soft skills? So that's where we come in and address as a company and as an organization.
I mean, look, with the implosion of our population in Kenya, and of course the growing rate of urbanization, which is growing at is it 7% or 10%,
Yep.
Annually, that means that the demand for food is going to grow. We do not anticipate the demand for food to go down anytime soon. And that is going to put pressure on production. And so if we think that the current crisis that we are facing is bad, then we need to wait for the next 10 years. So what do we need really to turn around the fortunes of agriculture in this country?
So I think there's a discussion that's going on right now, and this is the worst drought that we've ever faced for the last 40 years. I mean, there's a place in western Kenya, in the northern Kenya, that have not seen rain for the last 4 years. So discussions around how to mechanize agriculture, and how I'm hearing discussions about how we can use Indian Ocean and just purify the water, and use it for irrigation. But again, we need to understand that the shift of mindsets from the blue collar jobs and the white collar jobs to accommodate the green collar jobs. We're talking about aquaponics, we're talking about hydroponics, and how we can turn around the reliance on rainwater for our yield. So from the baseline survey that we did, we noticed that a lot of technical institutions are now investing heavily on the hard skills into that mechanization of agriculture. And us as an organization, we've also noticed that there's new jobs coming up. We have people who use drones just to check out the yield and how the crops are doing. And these kinds of upgrade will lead us into just shifting from the traditional way of crop farming or agriculture into the new modernized way. And I'm sure that if the checks and measures are put in place and the right skills are in the market, I think we are set and we're ready to go.
You see, the government, or Kenya, is part of the Maputo Declaration, whereby we are supposed to be investing 10% of our national GDP towards agriculture. But we know this has not really happened, because we talk about 5 to 7%. So if we were to increase investment in agriculture, what impact would this have on our productivity as a country?
Well, to be honest with you, any addition to the inputs that the agricultural field receives must be accompanied by a change in a workforce that can support it. And one of the things that entices investors, even in coming into the country to invest, is a workforce that is ready for the massive growth. Can the country sustain the labor workforce? And I've seen instances where we are exporting labor at a very high percentage to countries like Israel to go and work in farms, while we can still have that kind of workforce work in Kenya and just try and improve our situation. So I believe it all starts with policy framework and how government can sit in roundtables with stakeholders and discuss issues that will support. As I said earlier, that 1.3 million people join the workforce every year, and this can be a disaster if at all there is no proper measures that can be put in place to make sure that these guys get jobs, these guys utilize what they've gotten in as hard skills. Yeah, so I think in terms of policy development and just upskilling our guys and making sure that they are job ready will attract guys, and this will have a massive impact, in the economy as you know it, and even in the agri-food value chain. Yeah.
And I know the buzzword in the agriculture sector is, agribusiness. Yeah. But have we ever managed to define what is agribusiness?
Well, I think from when I was young, I used to know that agribusiness is, you can rear your chickens and sell them and make money, make a livelihood out of agriculture. And, with this in mind, what we need to do is have avenues where we, include all stakeholders. I'm saying stakeholders because job seekers and the youth are the biggest stakeholders in the affairs of the country. So I have seen young people come up with vlogs, come up with how-to channels of just to accelerate the agribusiness industry. And to be honest with you, Brian, I think the discussion needs to be spoken out loudly. So we need a lot of support from the government and also from private institutions. An example that we do, Brighter Monday, highly, and we invest a lot in youth education. We write articles just to encourage the youth that, hey, if you didn't get this job, then you can also do certain agricultural activities and make money. So agribusiness has been at the center of our discussions, and I believe we need to amplify that by just teaching them the soft skills that are required, negotiation skills. How do you communicate? How do you present your brand as an organization yourself? Increase, your chances of being successful in this agribusiness venture. And I know that the agri-food business value chain is quite heavy, from input supply to production, to marketing, to delivery of the services and the goods, up to consumption when you get the plate. So I think this is a conversation that needs to be spoken out a lot, and I appreciate that KBC is doing this, and I think this is a game changer. Yeah.
And you see, when you look at the private and the public sector, do you see synergies coming together to try and drive the agribusiness agenda forward?
Yeah. We have a testament is what right now we have as Brighter Monday, and in collaboration with GIZ, AgriJobs for Youth. So we have an initiative called Vijana na Kilimo, which is focusing on 5 counties in the western region, in the Lake Region Economic Bloc, and these kinds of synergies will slowly help in alleviating of poverty, because one of the biggest things and what Brighter Monday tries to solve in the African Talent Company at large is the unemployment menace, which of course causes poverty at the end of the day. So synergies between like-minded organizations, and we are calling out to any like-minded organizations that wants to support us and join forces with us just to alleviate poverty. I think it's the way to go. We have a target of around 10,000 youth that we want to upskill and put them in dignified employment opportunities, and we're doing a good job at it. So I know we have not even scratched the surface, but such discussions need to be spoken. We have the reach, we have connections to job seekers across the country, and the youth especially, who are the biggest backbone of this country. So if we gang up and have organizations like we are doing with Agri-Jobs for Youth, we will surely do something to alleviate poverty. Yeah.
And the message on agribusiness, I mean, is really focused towards the youth. But when you look at the agriculture sector in Kenya, you know, the average age of an agriculture of a Kenyan farmer is between 60 and 65. And when you look at the population of this country, 70% of Kenya's population is below the age of 40 years. So are we directing the right message to the wrong people? Okay,
cool. You know, 75% of our population, as I started by saying, is below the age of 35. You know, the definition of youth is between 18 to 35. So, you know, if at all we are not talking to the right people at the end of the day, I say this is the biggest workforce, and agriculture as it is right now is the domain for all people, especially in the rural areas. I say that 70% of the food that we consume is produced by the small scale holders, and they are in the rural areas. So if we do not make agriculture attractive to the young people, and I think we have so many youth-led initiatives. As said earlier, we have YouTube vloggers. We have how to, guys doing it on YouTube just to explain to the youth that, hey, we are the ones to change this. And at the end of the day, if we don't speak to them, then the agricultural space and value chain will still be a domain of the old generation. That said, I think organizations need to take up, even if it's CSR activities, you know, just to upskill the youth as is, and tell them that we are the backbone of this economy. We need to have inclusion of the financial institutions just to provide financial support to the youth, and I'm very happy with what is coming up with this new government. You know, I don't want agriculture to, you know, when you hear agriculture, you only see a djembe, you only see, you know, gumboots and all that. So, and even fertilizer subsidies. So I want us to veer away from that and see agriculture as something that can be done by everyone. We've seen jobs are coming up that are requiring technical skills like software development for the agribusiness space. I said earlier the drone activities. So a lot of mechanization and skill sets that have been introduced into the agribusiness space, and we need to speak directly to the youth just to make sure that they are attracted to this, because if they don't do it, then I think we will go hungry, because they're the biggest population.
When you look at you know, the trends in the agriculture sector and the challenges that we are facing as a nation, where do you see agriculture in the next 10 years?
Well, I have seen introduction of systems like hydroponics, aquaponics, and what has been a trend, and we recently did a survey of you know, the future of work, and I specifically to be for agriculture is you know, the systems, the systemization and mechanization of agriculture will take over. So we will have a lot of there's a growth in the agri-food value chain. As I said earlier, we have now, I can sit in my home and purchase vegetables from a shop, and it's delivered at the doorstep of, or you know, at my doorstep. So there is so many things that are happening at once, and you know, what is tending to be forgotten is, you know, these things are changing very rapidly, but the skill sets that were taught to the people who are part and parcel of this transformation are still the same. So we need to have activities around reskilling, upskilling, and also just bringing up the population to where it should be to accommodate that robust growth. And I'm very happy to be a part of this company, Brighter Monday, the African Talent Company, where we are trying to solve the skills gap, with very unique solutions that are homegrown for every country that we operate in. Again, I think we are in 4 African countries now, and we believe in transforming the economy through the providing of employment opportunities, and also just trying to make sure that the productivity of the people that we churn out to the market and to the labor industry are up to speed, and they can actually perform as needed.
Very well. And if you're just joining us, we're having this live conversation from our studios in Broadcasting House here in Nairobi. And of course, remember, we are keeping an eye on the State House, where the swearing in of Cabinet Secretary nominees is expected to take place any time from now. And so we shall be going there so that we can, of course, witness that critical, important, or that critical event that will be happening at State House in a moment from now. And so our reporters and, of course, our crew are at State House, keeping an eye on what is happening there. Remember, we also have other events that are happening around the country. We have the engineers, or the Consulting Engineers Association meeting that is happening in Kisumu. Among the issues being discussed there is the signing the Washington Accord among engineers, and of course making Kenya a signatory to that critical document that bind countries on some various issues. And so those are some of the issues that we are following up on here. And remember, I was also telling you that Safaricom has today launched their 5G services. We shall be helping you to understand what exactly that means for you. Now we want to take you to State House, where the swearing in of Cabinet Secretaries is supposed to be happening anytime from now. So those are the issues that we are following up now. But before we go there, first of all, let's take a short break, and thereafter we shall be back here.